All right, good evening, folks. How's it going out there? Welcome back here to a Friday night. Hope everyone's having a wonderful evening out there. 11:13 p.m., not a.m., p.m. California time, the first day of August here. Well, the second for some of you folks out there. Latest activity shows a little .8 across California. Also, a little bit of newer movement here. Just off, well, actually, it looks like it's on the plate bound or off the plate boundary here with a 2.1 earthquake along the coastal fault there of California. A couple more earthquakes up here into the Cascadia subduction zone there of Northern California. A couple earthquakes, including the latest, a 2.5, 17 miles deep. A couple earthquakes there into the Cascadia subduction zone. This is earthquake activity occurring underneath this region of Eureka. Let's go ahead and check real quick, see what we have. As far as Cascadia tremor activity goes, we got 132 epicenters of Cascadia tremor down into the deeper areas of the subduction zone. Nothing big. Mainly up there across the Olympia area of Washington. I don't see any, not too much elevated earthquake activity. There is a little bit of movement there across Mount St. Helens and, of course, Mount Rainier volcano there in the Washington. Although, interesting, they're claiming the only earthquake struck there, well, at least earlier this morning, is a 0.5. 7 o'clock this morning. I kind of find that hard to believe. So let's see what we got there for the volcano seismicity map there across Mount Rainier. So 7 o'clock this morning, that means that we shouldn't see anything occurring here in the afternoon or evening. Well, I'm looking at the seismograph station here, and it looks like there's something occurring out there. There's quite a few earthquakes occurring here in the last few hours. The previous UTC time as well shows a number of earthquakes out here. 7 o'clock this morning, so we're probably looking at 7:53 a.m. That would probably be this earthquake right here. So what about all these other earthquakes? Get what I'm saying? I think what they're doing here is only reporting a handful there when they come in. But obviously, there's more than a handful. And some here within the last few hours. A couple of smaller earthquakes there. There's, nothing big, but there is earthquake activity occurring. So that last earthquake that they're showing here on the map from 7 o'clock this morning is not factually correct. There's been probably a good 20 or 30 earthquakes since then, but they are not located and not accounted for there by the USGS. So I'll put that out there. There's a couple earthquakes, as I mentioned, there across Mount St. Helens there, interestingly enough. So, you know what? Might as well go check that out as well. See what's going on there across Mount St. Helens. There's a couple smaller earthquakes there across the northern flank of the volcano. Up at the summit area, we'll check this out here, Rembrandt, Mount St. Helens. There's a couple of those earthquakes showing up. Very nicely defined there. I see at least 3 or 4 here. And, it looks like outside interference or some of the big earthquakes that are striking out outside of Russia. Localized earthquake events are going to show up like this. But I tell you what, there's been a handful of them there across Mount St. Helens. Interestingly enough there, that's a slight uptick there across that volcano. Nothing big going on there, but we are noticing a uptick across at least 2 of the volcanoes there, Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier, that's been swarming like crazy up there in the last 30 days. But no major volcanic unrest. Mount Hood, one earthquake up here as well. Well, man, since we're on it, we better go double check Mount Hood, see what's going on there. Maybe I'm missing stuff out here. Maybe there's some major stuff going on across the Cascade volcanoes. Let's see. That looks like a sizable event outside the area. I'm not for sure exactly where that was at. Let's see here. Hard to say. There's been a number of 4s out here across the Russia area, but not localized, unless that's some type of magma movement, but I don't think that's the case. As far as earthquake, that's just a overblown amplitude there of earthquake not earthquake activity, but seismograph reading there. So That is, well, it's the top of Palmer Lift. That's why. Let's go check over here. See if the station's working here. Yoakum Ridge. Yoakum. All right, a couple earthquakes there in the last couple hours or so. This is a beautiful seismograph station here. Well defined. Picking up the S waves from several big earthquakes out there across the Russia area. There's another earthquake local there. It doesn't look like there's anything major going on, but we'll continue to watch that there. I'm not really fond of the lack of earthquake reporting out there across the volcanoes right now. Outside of Victoria up there in Canada, a little 2.2 from this afternoon. Cascadia subduction zone, like I say, there's a couple earthquakes down here. The tremor events, let me show you guys the Cascadia tremor. Shows 132 underneath the Washington area. Just kind of watching this closely because it's been somewhat elevated since the 8.8 earthquake there off the coast of Russia, the Kamchatka earthquake there a couple days ago. Bay Area, pretty quiet. Southern California, one earthquake there on the San Andreas Fault, little 1.1. Outside of Little Rock, that's not spelt right, but Little Rock, interesting. A little 1.1, nothing major going on there for now. Nothing above 2.5. Look at the rest of the country here. A couple earthquakes into the Intermountain West area, up through Yellowstone, but really nothing major going on. Oil fields of Texas still rocking and rolling. Of course, we had this 3.0 earthquake there in the New Madrid seismic zone. That's the largest earthquake here in the last 30 days. So what's going on out there? Maybe something bigger brewing? Possibly. The last series of events out here back in 1811, 1812 resulted in a series of mid to upper 7-pointers. Today, that type of movement, oh man, that'd be majorly damaging out here. A lot has happened since 1811, 1812, let me tell you. All right, let's take a look here at the Russia area, the Kamchatka area. Looks like the largest or the latest earthquake of 4.4 here. 21 miles deep. It's interesting here. We're getting a mixed bag of deep and shallow activity. That, I guess that's common there during a major event. We've got 60 earthquakes here in the last 24 hours. A total tally here of about 379 earthquakes, with the 8.8 earthquake being the main magnitude. If we were to go back to the last 30 days, including the previous big-time swarm up here, these were all all foreshocks, believe it or not, including the 7.4 as a foreshock. That's crazy, right? But we've covered that in our videos. We're talking about 570 earthquakes. So just kind of watching this here closely. A mixed bag of deep and shallow adjustment. The main quake here struck at about 21 miles deep. So it does make sense here to see the adjustment take place between 21 miles underneath this area and surface adjustment as new strain begins to build out here. But this only partially released the earthquake activity out here, or the strain out here against the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. The USGS put out an interesting article here a couple days ago on their Facebook site. This is a USGS, a geological survey, not any spam site. This is the official site here, stating that at 80 mm per year of tectonic strain stress accumulation, this region has built up over 6 meters of strain since 1952, which is now partially released. Not fully released, but partially released. So that means here that we could see some larger activity out here. Not guaranteed, but definitely possible. There's been some newer movement down here at the southern end of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench with a 5.5 here. Been a number of earthquakes out here, so we got to watch that for some migration down south here, resulting in some further large-scale movement. Could see maybe a 9-pointer down here. Not out of the question. Of course, a 9-pointer there would result in a bigger tsunami than what we've seen there last time. I think we got pretty fortunate there, lucky in terms of any major damage there across the Pacific. Yes, locally across the Kamchatka, there's some damage, but be very careful. There's so much AI videos and photos that are showing up there across social media that are crazy, believable, but they're not real. Okay, so just be careful. It's very important in this day and age of where you're getting your information from. Okay, be very cautious. Far as global activity goes, let's take a look here and see what we got. Philippines southward, a little bit of clustering going on there. Nothing big though, but it's interesting here that the earthquake activity around the planet has somewhat come to a halt in terms of larger movement. Been very active up here. Previous to that big 8.8, man, we were seeing earthquake activity all around this area of the globe. Big time movement. North, south, east, and west, all over the place. And right now it's kind of taking front and center stage there with earthquake activity, aftershock activity. Hopefully it's not foreshock activity, but you just never know. Typical movement here across the Middle America Trench and into South America and the Chile area. Nothing big going on there for now. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet. Like I say, all eyes on the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. A little bit of migration southward here, so we do have to watch that. The general plate stress movement here of the Pacific plate, let me show you guys, shows that when earthquake activity happens over here along the northern end of the Kamchatka Trench, general stress here shifts that plate to the northwest here. So that could put Japan in a major potential stage here for some larger activity, or the southern end here of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. That's why I think we're seeing this earthquake activity here, and that's kind of stirred up in the last couple days here since the 8.8 earthquake. So gotta watch that. Good possibility. Not guaranteed, but somewhat of a possibility we could see some larger movement take place down here because it was only partially released with that 8.8. Let's see if there's anything major else going on out here. Not seeing anything around New Zealand. One earthquake there. This is, like I say, it's a little sketchy. I don't want to focus too much on this because when you think about it, when you talk about things, it tends to make things happen out here. But, I mean, I've been talking about the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench for a little while as far as the next major earthquake going, next mega quake. And sure enough, it happens. But realistically down here across the Alpine Fault, where we're getting a lot of activity recently, that's overdue for an 8.1 earthquake. That's all I'm going to say. As far as space weather activity, got a boring flare, B9.7. Not a whole lot of activity stirring up out there. Beautiful moon if you can get out there and fight the mosquitoes. 60% illumination there of the moon. I was going to go out there tonight and take some zoom shots with my camera. Just got caught up here with the kids and the family, so maybe tomorrow I'll get out there and catch that beautiful moon. Nothing major going on far as solar flare activity goes. We got a number of sunspots out here. Nothing major. This region here has grown here in the last couple days, but notice the splitting here of the sunspot core. That, unless it further builds within the middle here, then this will just continue to decay as all of these other sunspots have done. So I'm really not looking at anything major here unless we get some further deepening colors here in the center portion of that sunspot. That would indicate some magnetic complexity that would harbor some stronger flares, but right now that's just not the case. 30% chance or less for an M flare. I'm issuing a 1% chance or less for X flare. Really nothing major going on. The sun's been absolutely quiet, folks. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise here. Be very cautious where you get your information from. There hasn't been any major solar flares, no major impacts from CMEs, nothing. Zip zero since all this big earthquake activity has been occurring. So nothing major there across the severe weather forecast. We'll take a look here at the National Hurricane Center. Man, I tell you what, the Pacific down here has been quite active. We got some decent chances there for tropical development. This should stay south here of Hawaii. Out in the Atlantic, nothing going on. Even in the Gulf here, zip, zero, nada. So, man, I don't know what's going on. It could be something. It could have something to do with the Sahara dust that's been flowing in here off of the Africa continent, just kind of funneling in here to the Gulf, suppressing the tropical development. It's happened before, but then again, as we head into September, the peak area of the hurricane season, we don't want to get too complacent because that could change in terms of the tropical development out there. All right, seismograph stations out there, pretty quiet, folks. Hope everyone's having a wonderful Friday night. I do ask if you can, give us a like here on this video, subscribe if you can, and we'd appreciate the share on any of your pages if you have. It kind of helps us out quite a bit. And, of course, the member drawing is coming up as well on the 20th of this month. I did include here on the live stream a little chat goal up here. So if we can get 30 super chats by the time, let's see, did this end? It did end, huh? What? Come on, YouTube. What happened there? It's supposed to last a little bit longer than that. Okay. I don't know what happened. I was putting this up here for a super chat goal to get 30 super chats, and we would do 3. I said here that we would pick out 3 members from this month's drawing. So we got almost 10. I don't know what happened here. Oh, oh my goodness. 3 hours. Well, that looks like as far as it goes there. So, but maybe we'll put it up here for another 3 hours, and we'll go from there, okay? Because I really want to give away some prizes here this month. Normally we'll pick out 1 member out of our member bowl. Normally we'll do 2 if it's above 100. But I mentioned here, if we can get, if we can get another, I'll tell you what, if we can get another 10 super chats in there by the time this ends, I'll do 3 members coming up here on the 20th. So it's something that we do every single month. I've been doing it for well over 3 years in terms of giving back here to our members. It's just kind of a way of showing our appreciation there from this channel to you in a form of, well, everyone likes cash, right? Gift cards. Cash gift card, or if you want some Earthmaster merchandise, or if you want some geology mining kits, that's also an option as well. We've had several members pick out the geology mining kits in the past, including Hurricane Heather there. So, yeah, man, you think it would be a little bit longer there in terms of the hours there, but it's all good. If we can get another 10 here in the 3 hour time period, maybe I'll just have to restart it. So we already got 9, and we'll do it consecutive there. So I may have to restart this goal, but regardless, if we get like 30 or so, we'll definitely do 3 members, and I think that'd be cool. All right, I'm out of here. Have yourself a wonderful evening. The seismograph stations out there pretty quiet, pretty calm for now, folks. But it's been that way. I mean, far as worldwide activity goes, it's been pretty quiet globally, except for this area along the Kamchatka Trench, which, is expected to see a lot of aftershock activity. But also Southern California here in the Cascadia has picked up since that earthquake activity there into the Kamchatka, Russia area. So you think about it here, when one portion here makes a major adjustment in terms of major seismic release, that can have adverse effects here across this plate boundary. The California length here, man, driving from Chico down to Los Angeles or San Diego, that's a lengthy drive, but nothing like Texas. Texas feels like you're driving across the country, but I love Texas. But the point being here is that the plate boundary here itself that we reside on is a little small fraction of the Pacific plate. And we've had so much earthquake activity in terms of larger movement since our last major events out here that this area is super primed for some mega quake activity out here. And I'm talking about the San Andreas Fault. It's historically had some bigger events. The entirety here of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, when that ruptures from Parkville down south all the way to the Salton Sea, we're talking about an 8.1 earthquake. And look at these time frames out here. So much time has passed since last decent ruptures. The last southern branch of the San Andreas Fault was 1857, so that was 213 years ago. Regular intervals run about 150 years for this, so we are well overdue. But when you take into account that this area, the extreme southern branch, has not had any rupture in over 300 years, well, it makes sense here that we're even more elevated than normal, than any given average time when it comes to this last event out here. So we are sitting on a level here where we could see a big earthquake across Southern California at any given time. Are you prepared? That's the thing. Make sure you're prepared, folks, because when that hits, and it will, you cannot expect. Think about how much large earthquake activity is struck in the last 213 years for the southern branch. I'm being lenient here, right? If we were to include 300, there'd be more. But think of how much movement has struck out here. Remember the big 9-pointer up in Alaska? Multiple large mega quakes out here recently. 2011 9.1. There's been, just so much activity out here. And California has yet to move in terms of large earthquake activity on the plate boundary. Yes, we had a 6.9 and a 7.1 on the Little Lake Fault Zone, way away from the San Andreas Fault back in 2019. But this area, it's it's not fused together, I guarantee you. That's why we got so many fractures out here, because there's so much strain building up here. It's a very dynamic area, but eventually that's going to crack, and we're going to see a big earthquake out here along the west coast. All right, folks, have yourself a wonderful Friday evening. Oh man, it's midnight. Almost went midnight. It's way past my bedtime, so we're gonna call it a night here. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here in the morning for the Saturday morning update. Take care. Please like this video and subscribe. Welcome to all the new members out there.